Hello and welcome to episode 26 of SAAB Fever. My name's Frank, and in today's episode we'll be fixing the front driver's side window on the 9.5 project. You can see here the top of the door card's in very bad shape. Hopefully I'll be able to fix that too, but I really don't know. I might end up having to replace it. I was informed by the previous owner that the driver's side window on this car didn't work. Rifling through the paperwork, I did find a reference to it from a garage. It's dated some time ago now, so it hasn't worked for some time. I'm removing the upper trim first here. It has to come out first before you can take off the door card itself. Just broke a bit of the lower card plastic there. Removing the door card's actually quite simple. It's held in place by 3 screws, all held in by little blanking lugs. Once those are unscrewed, you can basically prise the bottom of the door card away from the door and then lift upward. I think if the garage has been in here before, that's perhaps what's happened to the top of the door card. I think they've basically, once it was unscrewed, they just ripped it off the door. As I said, what you need to do is unclip it at the bottom and then lift upward. I'm hoping I can fix that, but I really don't know. I've never been in a situation where I've had to fix that, so I suppose we'll see what happens later on. Here I am removing it. Now, for the most part, I can just lift it away. That's only because the rest of the plastic trim that goes down by the window is already detached from the door card. Just disconnect the wiring for the buttons here. With the door card completely out of the way now, it's just because I need full access into the window motor and everything. I know I need to take the speaker off so that I can remove the moisture barrier. You can see here it's only held on by duct tape at the moment. And now it's just a case of peeling all of this back. Okay, I can now see the motor. It does say in the invoice for the work that was carried out that the motor regulator was disconnected. I, at the moment, don't know what's wrong. I'm assuming that the window probably goes down but not up, but I don't fully know. Just having difficulty here getting the connector onto the motor. I just couldn't get the angle right until it occurred to me, actually, if I put my hand up where the speaker used to be, I can touch the back of it, and then it went straight on. I'm now trying to activate the motor. You can just see it bending the metal there. As it happens, I was wrong. The window motor goes up, but does not go down. I have to say, before doing any of this work, I did have a sneaky suspicion if it's going to turn out to be the window control buttons in the center console. But I'd like to test it properly anyway, so while I'm here, I'll give it a try. Okay, that's pressing down. We're only seeing about 5 volts. Pressing up, though, we see 11.7. Down again is only 5. We should be getting basically 12 volts in both directions. I got a spare from the shed. And we're now seeing 11 volts in both directions, so that's a good sign. That's not a good sign, however. It would appear that one of the window rollers is also broken, the little green circles. There's a piece of one there. Again, a quick pop over to the shed. These are cheap. I can't remember exactly how cheap they are. I know I bought a bag or two of them just to keep them in stock in the shed. They're basically pennies to buy. Now, sadly, I didn't get a shot of what's happening now. Needless to say, now the window doesn't go up anymore. So this job has just gone from bad to worse. I don't know if you can see it there in that shot, but what's happened here is that the front glass of the window is on the outside of the rubber runner now. It's now my plan to disconnect those new rollers I just put on and lift the window out so that I can reposition everything. Again, you can't see it on the top of the screen here, but unfortunately the top of the rubber roller has moved up and out of the window slightly from me trying to put the window up. Alright, with the window completely disconnected, I can now lift it out of the top of the door. It takes a little bit of maneuvering, but it'll come out. I can now push the front rubber runner back into place, and I'm just spraying some WD-40 down, letting it drip down inside the runners just to make sure that the window can move freely up and down. I don't know exactly how long the window's been stuck in the up position. The window basically goes in the exact same way it came out. Again, takes a little bit of fiddling, but it'll go in. Before I line it up properly, I'm going to pay a lot of attention to that front there, just to make sure that the window's sitting in the runner properly. Now it's just a case of pushing the clips back in. And there we go. The window's fully working for the first time in God knows how long. Putting a little bit more WD-40 there by the rollers at the bottom. I mean, it's not really the right sort of grease for it. Well, it's not a grease at all, really, WD-40, but I mean, it's better than nothing, and it's all I have handy at the moment. Okay, first things first on the door card. I've glued that piece of plastic that broke off, holding it in place with a clip. I'm going to leave it for a while and hope that the glue sets. Moving on to the top window trim on the door card itself. I looked at trying to press it on, but I'm not sure if that's a good idea. I mean, maybe that is how it's done at the factory, I don't know, but given that the end is frayed quite badly, I came up with a bright idea of sliding it on from one side. It seemed to go fantastically at first. As you can imagine, as you slide it on, the further it gets on, the more friction there is and the harder it gets to push. I stop every now and again just to give myself a bit of a breather. Also, just to make sure, just to squeeze it a bit. The last thing I want is right at the end to have it pop off. So every now and again, just stop and squeezing it, making sure it's staying on. I came up with a bright idea of going and checking the front passenger's door, just so I can get an idea of where it sits. It looks like it sits about 5 or 6 mil over on the front. Sadly, that's the bit that's broken, so I'm not sure that's much of a guide, and seems to fit in line with the indentation left by the upper trim piece on the door, so that's mostly what I'll use as a guide. So with that little job complete, just start to put everything back together now. I did notice the driver's mirror doesn't move at all, and when I took the top trim off, I noticed that one of the pins was sticking out the back of the connector. So I'm quietly hopeful that if I just shove that back in, it does seem to pop out as I put the clip back in, so I'm using a little pry tool just to make sure the pin itself doesn't come out. Hopefully that'll sort the mirror as well. I really couldn't think of any better way of putting the moisture barrier on, so I'm just going to leave it as is. Plugging the buttons and the door card back in. I am being very gentle here. Between that piece that broke off and really not sure how well that top bit of trim is going to hold. Very, very gentle with it. Thankfully, it does seem to have held quite nicely. You can see the door mechanism there. As you put the handle on, it should just clip into place. Just make sure the handle's in the closed position when you press it in. Otherwise, the clip on the handle will be on the wrong side of the mechanism there. Just a case of putting those torque screws back in the door handle now. Also, it's worth checking that the door mechanism does work. Pressing it in with the screwdriver to put it into the lock position, then pull the handle on the door just to make sure that the door mechanism releases. Top trim can go back on now. It really should go in towards the back of the door first. There is a little notch that goes down into the door card. So just when putting it back on, just make sure you do that back corner first, and then work your way forward. So one last test. And one last thing, this car was missing its courtesy light from the bottom of the door. Again, lucky it's one of those things I have spares of in the shed, so just went and grabbed one. It's only got the normal festoon bulb in it at the moment. It will at some point get upgraded to LEDs throughout, but I think that'll be for another video. I have been able to find the invoice I was looking at before. I've blanked out the garage because it's best if I don't name them, I think. Looking at the date of the invoice, it's back in like late 2018, so this window therefore hasn't worked in, what's that, 2.5 years at the time of filming. They raised the runner guide found to have broken. I'm assuming that's the little green rollers, as I would call them. There's 2 of them at the bottom of the window. They are quite common that they break, you know, they're only plastic, I suppose. But they're also ridiculously cheap. You can see here that they've put the window up and disconnected the motor to stop people messing with it by accident, I suppose. You'll also see here that they wanted 250 quid plus labour and VAT to replace the window regulator. I'm not entirely sure what they mean by window regulator. I assume they mean the window buttons, since they referred to the motor as the motor. I have a hard time believing that those button units cost 250 quid, even brand new from SAAB. I also took a nice after shot showing the top of the door card there. No frayed edges showing, which is quite a nice look. As always, thanks for watching.